Hello, my name's Clive Krieger and I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe the 10 best books for entrepreneurs. And I'm going to go through a few books, hold them up. You can see that I enjoy books. I've got a library of over 1,000 books, and I've been a management consultant and entrepreneur most of my life. Sometimes more successful than others, but there are books that have helped me and I hope may help you. But this is just an illustration. I may follow a particular author and you may not like that author's style, but the same subject will have been covered by somebody else. So, pick your authors, pick your subjects, and please, I'd be glad to hear back, and I'll tell you how towards the end of the video. Classic one, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. You ought to have one or two of these in your library. And I read mine probably about once every year, just to remind myself about what is going on up here affects what goes on around me. John Assaraf is one of those people. I've met him live actually. I like a lot of his ideas, a lot of his brain development. But one book I found of his that's The Answer, which really covered the basics that you need to be a manager and probably a leader. Very, very smartly. It's, I think, one of his best products. Although he's much up to date now if you follow him on the web. I still like that, The Answer. So, John Assaraf. And I forgot the other author, Murray Smith. So we're carrying on. Now, one of the things I suggest if you're going to be a good manager and a good entrepreneur and a leader is you need to understand about yourself and how you work and what drives you before you can work with other people. And one of the skills you must learn is rapport. It's one of the basic tenets of NLP, which I think is an important management skill. And I have at least a dozen books on this subject. I've got 3 sort of coming up in this 10, so that tells you how important I think it is. The Power of Business Rapport by Dr. Michael Brooks. I like that one a lot. It's in my library and I read it often. And of course you can't talk about NLP without really mentioning this guy, Tony Robbins, and I certainly think that a lot of what he says is NLP based and more, and certainly his reputation precedes him. And a couple of his books, this is one, I've got another one somewhere else in my library, but you should read something by Tony Robbins. Now to come back to some just management stuff, this is one book I really like and I found, Essential Management Checklists. I like this because sometimes, you get very entrepreneurial, the details slip by you. You know that and I know that. And if you're a detailed person, the Tony Robbins stuff sometimes slips by you. So you need both. And this book gave me checklists for lots of things that managers need to do. So I'd recommend it. It's real easy stuff, but it does help you keep up to date with the details. Good. Okay, this is, I think one of these guys has written a book that I got in 1982 when I was a young manager. And I think it was called, and I'm sure it was called The 1 Minute Manager, produced a series, and that would be Kenneth Blanchard. He's here writing with Norman Vincent Peale, and it's called, and it's a bit dirty, I've had it in my library a while, but The Power of Ethical Management. It's a simple, quick read, but really important, and I still think it's worth. Kenneth Blanchard, with another chap whose name escapes me for a minute, wrote The 1 Minute Manager and a couple of other 1-minute books, which I'd recommend. They're very straightforward, but they're good management skills that still have much value today, even though they date back to the early 80s. Now, my son and myself both would agree that one of the things that you need to do to differentiate yourself as a manager is to have a slightly broader depth of knowledge. So I picked out just a book that was sitting behind me on the shelf, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. It's a fictional book, and you don't have to read that book Read any other fictional book you like. Make it of good quality. My son, who is a senior manager with a high-level IT company, and he's an IT guru, he likes science fiction and that sort of stuff. He's in his 30s, early 30s, and I think, and he thinks as well, just having that little bit of breadth of character it develops when you're well read, vocabulary, ideas, amusement, lots of things, is of value. So don't only make your reading about management books or etc. or technical books. You need to broaden yourself a little bit, and whatever turns you on. In the days of 50 Shades of Grey, I perhaps shouldn't have said that, but here we go. Okay, one of the classic guys known as Mr. Presentation, Tom Geary. If you become a manager, you're going to have to do, did I say Tom? I meant Tony Geary. You're going to have some way of doing presentations. These days they probably do with PowerPoint or by video, and the skills this guy teaches you, perhaps I need to give it another read as well, are very, very good. You should have some books on presentation skills in your library. Okay, one of the books I like and I bought quite recently, Verne Harnish, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. These are more accountancy based and finance based books, but good ideas in here about how to organise your goal setting and the finance behind that. So this is one of the technical management books I'd recommend. And I think he has, I'm sure he has a web page base that you can go on for further information. Interestingly enough, there's Tom Peters, one of the other management gurus, and Drucker, I think Peter Drucker, some of the older style guys. Still worth a read if you pick up anything by Tom Peters or Peter Drucker. I mentioned the NLP and working on yourself a bit. This is The Way of NLP. It's by Joseph O'Connor and Ian McDermott. Ian McDermott was my teacher, great guy, very congruent, to use a NLP term. He walked the talk. He was as he is. Very important. I would strongly recommend that if you're planning to be an entrepreneur, a manager or a leader, you pick up something by somebody in NLP. I'd recommend Ian McDermott if you can get his book. It's straightforward and easy to understand, and there are a lot of life skills in there that would help anybody. And the other guy I follow greatly, got nothing to do with business, nothing to do with management, but you know what I said? I said it's about how you are yourself and how you communicate with other people and talk to yourself. This guy, Wayne Dyer, followed him since his first book, Your Erroneous Zones. Not your erogenous zones, your erroneous zones. I think I've got most of his books, met the guy. I'd strongly recommend this book or one of the other books. This is just Wisdom of the Ages. When I wanted some inspiration, especially if I was writing a presentation, sometimes I'd go here. And in fact, there's a couple of my yellow post-it notes stuck in the top about stuff I wanted to review and do. And my last book in my selection today was one of the old guys. When I say old guys, I'm old as well, but I picked this up some years ago. It's Harvey Mackay, or Mackay, Beware the Naked Man Who Offers You His Shirt. His other book was on networking, and I personally think something by Harvey Mackay or Mackay should be in your library. It's important. It's important because the skills that are in there, he was an expert on in a narrow field, but everything you needed to know and do that he covered are skills that you need to know and do. Which leads me really to a little bit towards the end of this video. I've got a free gift for you, a little book you can download off of video. I'd like you to have a look at how I've just got over some challenges by using other people's expertise. And in the modern world, although there is a PDF for you to download, most of it now is done by webinars. I still like my books, but I've learnt so much just recently from a bunch of guys for generic online marketing techniques. So if you're interested in digital media, a business you can run from home on autopilot as a second income stream, which is what I do. I found a bunch of guys who've given themselves. It's interesting about this guy. He says, beware the naked man who offers you his shirt. Well, these guys, to me, when I say they took their clothes off, I'm not speaking literally, but they took their clothes off and showed us how they've made 6 and 7 figure incomes using social media, digital media, and other techniques. And I'd suggest when guys like that really tell you what they do, they open their heart to you, I'd have a look. So if you follow the link, download the little free PDF, and I will maybe you could email me about my choices or anything you'd like to add. But I'd love to hear from you. My email is on the other side. All the best and good luck with whatever you choose to do and whatever you read. Clive Krieger.